Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Okay, so good evening, good afternoon, anywhere you are. Is Mr. Segla here? Oh, okay, Segla is here already. Yes, so we make you a co-host. Okay, so
good evening, Prof.
Thank you,
Please.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again. Thanks for coming to Tekedia Live.
Hello.
Today we'll be going through the Survivor Fund. I like the name Survivor Fund of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The 75 billion naira the government had noted that it will provide as a kind of support mechanism for companies as well as individuals around the nation. So we do feel that our members can benefit from that initiative. And today, as part of our live program, Mr. Segla, who has spent a very good amount of time looking at that, will lead us on that. Then after that, if we still have time, then we can go back to our usual open question and answer whenever I'm anchoring. So, Mr. Segla, we welcome you to the Tekedia Live. And if you have already a co-host here, so please you just go ahead. Thank you also, Mr. Emmanuel Echa. He led the one in the other edition this morning, so he was exceedingly amazing. So welcome, and thank you everyone for coming. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Professor,
hello.
I don't know.
Hello.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm ready.
Yourself, go ahead, Mr. Segla, if you can hear us. Are you there?
Okay, I can. Thank you very much, everyone.
You have to unmute. I think you're already unmuted. What is going on?
I'm unmuted.
Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I think we can hear him, correct?
Please, Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, my name is Mohammed Adama. Please, can I take 1 second of your time? I want to say thank you, and I'm most appreciative that you celebrated me. Thank you so very much, Prof, and God bless you.
Oh, thank you. And David, just Segla, before you go, you know, Adama Mohammed, she was made the executive secretary of the Muslim Association of the Fashion Nigeria Association. So she became the first woman in our nation to have actually gotten to that position. So we are truly honored from the Institute, all of us, to congratulate you for that great, amazing moment for you. So congratulations. I will say more to come. And
thank you so much, Prof. Thank you once more. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be part of it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats again.
Yeah. Okay, I will just go straight to the business of the day.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Prof. I appreciate this opportunity. I'll be sharing my screen.
Yes, go ahead.
So, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see from here. I guess yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
We are discussing ensuring Nigerian micro, small, and medium enterprises survival. I want to use this opportunity to thank Prof and congratulate everybody for the 60th anniversary of Nigerian Independence Day. I want us to have confidence in this country, and this kind of thing that is happening in this community is what will make this country become better. So all our prayers are being answered by the actions we are taking, even by this very presentation. Okay, so Nigeria was named from the word Niger area, and a lot of us may not even remember where the River Niger started from. It started is the origin of River Niger is from the Guinea up somewhere 600 kilometers up from the Atlantic Ocean and all that. So where did this survivor fund really start from? I want to discuss the the policy document so that we understand. We're all very learned people. Once we understand the policy document, we'll be able to have the bigger picture of what is going on, so that as others are happening alongside with it, we'll be able to have a better understanding, so that we can also discuss this in our climb. So the originators of this policy and program is titled Bouncing Back. That is for Nigerian economy to bounce back, and is by the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan of 2020. Now that document is a 76 pages document. I'll make it available on our social media after this meeting. And it's a very wonderful document. It's a document that we should all look at and begin to plan for how we can fit in, because it's more or less like what do you call it, stimulus plan, particularly for the inflation situation, recession that is, whether technical or not, and for the post-COVID economic reactivation. So it's a very large document. I've not gone through it. I just went straight to the part that has to do with this survival fund. So if you look through the overview, as you are seeing on my screen, you will see so many plans that are being made by the sustainability group to reactivate the economy. First is the overview, and then you have the real sector. If you go to number 16, just on this place is where we have what we'll be discussing today, which is supporting small businesses, guaranteed offtake scheme for MSMEs, SME Survival Fund, SME Intervention Fund, and MSME Regulatory Support. We will discuss only the Survival Fund and then mention others, but it's important to know that this is just one program out of about 20 or more programs, 26 programs to reactivate the economy. So if you see all the activities going around, it's just know that it's just one pinch of so many other things that will be going on. So for some of us that have interest in other aspects, but not this one, you can look at the document, okay? So 26 plans to reactivate the economy and then deliver it. Now, on that page 52 of this document, the policy document is supporting small businesses, guaranteed offtake scheme for MSMEs, MSME Survival Fund, SME Intervention Fund, and MSME Regulatory Support. Now, it's in 4 tracks. The first track says to support the guaranteed offtake scheme of MSMEs is to safeguard 300,000 existing jobs in 100,000 MSMEs, impacting about 900 to 1 million individuals, and sustain local production. The scheme will function by governments making an arrangement to purchase specific priority products made by the local content. To ensure value for money, the process for such suppliers will be bidding process. The scheme will ensure that small businesses do not fail and thus ensure that jobs in that sector do not lose their local and global, they do not get impacted by the economic slowdown, either globally or nationally. So the government is looking at people who are producing, like those producing shoes in Aba and all that, and then they will ask them to come and, for example, I'm just assuming, supply shoes to the Nigerian army and all that, and then it go through a bidding process. Instead of those jobs going to the international community, the government is saying, look, we will patronize the local content to save about 1 million individuals from being impacted by this. So that's just the track 1 of this entire 52 strategic business activation of the economy. And then the track 2 is payroll support to designated sectors. The scheme is a conditional grant to support vulnerable SMEs in designated vulnerable sectors in meeting their payroll obligations and safeguard jobs from the shock of COVID-19. The scheme will seek to support 50,000 SMEs employing minimum of 10 employees and a maximum of 50. So greater or equals to 10 and less than or equals to 50 employees will take part of this payroll program. Designated vulnerable sectors include hotels, creative industry, road transport, tourism, private educational institution, which has already started. And then under that, we have another variant under the track 2, which is interest-free credit to artisans. In addition, a further scheme to support daily paid and self-employed workers and artisans through a provision of interest-free credit to be disbursed through the microfinance and fintech credit providers. So this is then the third variant of the track 2 is to support the road transport sector to cushion the effect of social distancing. Further support will be provided to the road transport sector in the form of direct grants to transport workers and businesses to support this sector, which enables significant promotion of commercial activity. During last week, I was out, I went to Asaba and I went through God is Good motors. And on each line, instead of 3 people, it was just 2. So what they are saying is that the loss that these organizations may have suffered by standing by the social distance rules will be cushioned for those who apply. And then the third track is, this track is an initiative to be led by the Bank of Industry to provide support to key sectors impacted by the pandemic, such as healthcare, agro-processing, creative industry, oil and gas, female-owned businesses. So preliminary engagement have undertaken with the primary sector to identify interventions required. These include credit facilities that support their working capital and expansion of existing production facilities, credit remediation support, e.g. tenure extension, loan restructuring, or granting moratorium, support for working capital facilities and term loans to finance expansion requests. Given its structure, Bank of Industry, a fund manager, is able to provide tailored lending solutions across the value chain of those affected sectors, like the micro, small, and medium scale or large corporations. And then the last track is the regulatory support. This track is practical and immediate response to micro and small businesses to support resilience and ensure continued local production and cushion the effect of the pandemic. The measures introduced will reduce production registrations, 1, and then 2, renewal tariff with the NAFDA, that's a National Agency for Food, Drugs and Administration. I'm not sure this is really being announced. So if you're actually in this sector, you may need to find out. It may be the best time for you to quickly go and renew your license or do a registration of whatever lab you have been looking at. So if you look at in detail, the policy document for the track 1 says the objective is to sustain 300,000 jobs in 100,000 MSMEs by guaranteeing offtake of priority products such as processed food, personal protection equipment, hand sanitizers, face masks, face shield, shoe covers, and pharmaceuticals. The guiding principle is to safeguard existing small businesses to save jobs and ensure continued local production. The project element is to purchase identified items from small businesses, collaborate with private sector MSMEs, more or less local content, define the product quantity required and the price for the identified product, more or less like a bidding process, solicit interest from MSMEs to participate in procurement, verify and screen applications from bidding SMEs, develop and sign contracts with beneficiaries, make payment based on agreement, make arrangement for transparent purchase and distribution of procured items. More or less, government will offtake these things and then use them. And the amount vetted for this is 15 billion. And the supervisory ministry is Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade, and Investment. The second track is where most of us have interest, and is to establish SME Survival Fund to establish at least 500,000 jobs for 50,000 SMEs. The guiding principle is to use payroll support to save jobs and ensure continued local production. The project elements is to identify beneficiary small businesses in designated sectors like the hotels, which were shut down for a long time, the creative industry, which because of canceled events and all that, road transport because of the lockdown, tourism because of the lockdown, private schools because of the lockdown, and export-related businesses because of the lockdown of the international borders and airlines. Screen and verify applications using available company registration tax registration, identify and approve and disburse grants to beneficiaries through microfinance bank and financial technology credit provider, that's fintech. Identify eligible private transport companies and workers, screen and verify applications of eligible road transport workers, approve and disburse grants to beneficiaries. We'll go through the step-by-step of that. I have a screenshot here. So implementing structures will be steering committee of the MSME Survivor Fund, which has already started, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and Bank of Industry. The fund voted for this is 50 billion for the payroll support, 200 billion for loans to artisans, and 10 billion to support a private transport companies and workers. And remember, I said on the sustainability plan, this is just one, number 26 of the entire number 16, sorry, of the entire 26 plans to reactivate the economy. And the timeline is just 0 to 3 months. Track 3, which is to support creative jobs in priority sectors, so like the Bank of Industry, Nexim, that's the National Export-Import Bank, and other national development banks as full-stream through the provision of 50 billion MSME to de-risking facility. De-risking is more or less like almost non-guaranteed loans. 100 billion intervention fund for the healthcare. Intervention means that this fund will be given to them to intervene in the suffering they have gone through. If you remember, many hospitals were not open, pharmaceutical products were not being bought, apart from attention to COVID patients. The 150 billion capitalization fund for priority sectors. Capitalization means that for offtake, for recapitalization, for injection, for operating cost and all that. So 150 billion for recapitalization and 50 billion for export expansion facility. The priority areas, as I said before, is healthcare, agro processing, food processing, creative industry, local oil and gas, and export sector. And the guiding principle is to support the resilience of existing businesses to respond to the shocks caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in identified priority sectors, of which 40% are female-owned, to retain and create new jobs. The project element is engage deposit money banks, which is your normal GTB, Diamond, Access Bank, First Bank, Fidelity, and the rest. Invite applications from intended beneficiaries, verify and screen the application from bidding MSMEs, develop and sign contracts with beneficiaries, make disbursement based on agreements. Now, implementation structure is through the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Bank of Industry is the steering committee for the program. And the timeline is a whooping 1 year. And the estimated cost that will go into this is 350 billion. So we've mentioned about 1 trillion now, if you look at it, or thereabout. Now, the track 4 is regulatory, completely regulatory. Support continued production of MSMEs in the food and drug sector during the COVID-19 era. Support the resilience of existing businesses to respond to the shock caused by COVID-19 pandemic. And the project elements is
excuse me, Mr. Segla. So I think maybe the focus should be for the ones that will affect our community. The regulatory part may not necessarily be of interest to us. Because I think that one affects the NAFDAC people. Go ahead.
Okay. So the one that affects us is this particular one. The one that is highlighted is the payroll support registration, which has already started. The MSME grant and the guaranteed offtake, I believe, will be starting soon. And the payroll is, like I've explained, 500,000 SMEs will be beneficiary. This will help have liquid cash to pay staff salaries. Formalization support will be windows where we'll be able to register 250,000 unregistered businesses to free of charge at CAC. General grant of 50,000 naira will be given to identified businesses that are massively affected by the pandemic. And then artisan and transport supports, which I've explained before, for about 300,000 to receive 30,000 naira, and guaranteed takeoff scheme, which is bulk purchase of products. That's the GOS. Now the objective is to be able to get a platform to be able to manage all these projects, and that platform is available at survivorfund.ng or survivorfund.com. Now, the payroll support system have already started from the 21st of September, and it is ongoing. And then the registration has also begun for hospitality sector, as well as the private schools that began on the 21st. And then the registration are also being opened last week, Monday, for other sectors. That is for the payroll support sector. So this payroll support sector will make sure that people are able to get salaries, like 3 months salaries, and evidence and all that will be paid. And 45%, 40 to 45% of it has been guaranteed for female participation. And then we have the employee support. The employee of the MSMEs will, the company registration will require BVN of the company's CEO, the staff strength of them not less than 3, but not more than 10 in some instances, and for the private institutions, schools, not more than 50. And it must be a Nigerian-owned business. And of course, the self-employed individuals, but like the bus drivers, the taxi drivers, will also benefit from this. Now, the eligibility is Nigerian-owned. You must have a SMIDAN unique number. If you don't, you can start the registration, but you must have it before you finish. The CEO must have a BVN, which will be part of the registration. And then the staff strength must not be less than 3 persons. Now, to enroll, you go to survivorfundapplication.com and you click on the red button, which is the sign up button. And this is the landing page you will get to if you go to that website, and then you will click the red button, the login button, and that will bring you to select the type. Of course, you select the MSME while we wait for the MSME grant and the GOS to take off. Now, when you select this, it will bring you to this landing page. It will bring you to this landing page.
Let me mute it. Go ahead. Sorry for the distraction.
To bring you to this landing page, it's a very easy to sign up customer relationship management platform, but you need to have all your informations. So don't worry, I'll take you through the steps one by one, but it is 4 steps, 1, 2, and then 3, 4. Now, when you
I think Segla, we don't need to teach them the steps. I think we have an advanced community here. So the most important thing that the website is known, and then people can go there. And if they don't know, they can invite their granddaughter to help them how to navigate websites. So I don't think we need to teach that one here. So
okay.
I think if you finish, maybe people can ask questions. I think that may offer more insights and perspective. I don't know if anyone has any question. Okay. So do we have questions on this survivor fund anyone wants to ask? This is an opportunity to do that so that Mr. Segla can help us get to them. Okay.
Mr. John is raising his hand.
Okay, John, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just a small bit confused because it said the company has to be Nigerian owned, but to get a CAC certificate, don't all companies need to be 51% minimum Nigerian owned anyway? I thought that was the requirement for setting up a company in Nigeria, that it needed to be at least 51% Nigerian owned, so it couldn't be anything else, could it?
Yes, I agree with you. For as long as it is Nigerian owned, and then the CEO has BVN number, you meet that requirement.
Yeah, the issue is how would they even know it's not even Nigerian owned? If it's, I mean, we do have the data, but I do believe vividly that everything will depend on how the banks will process this through the BVN. Mm.
You do have some companies, I'm not going to name names, but there are some medium-sized companies in Nigeria that are run by foreigners. I'm not going to comment too much, but it's kind of like a contrivance. Like they go and they get dummy Nigerians and get them to just hold stock in the company, and they pay them a small sort of Ned type remittance, during the year, but they control the whole company themselves. I don't want to go into it in too much detail, but these companies do exist.
But yeah, I
they're
actually
not
don't think that
they're
such
not the
companies will be
nest.
interested in this. Do you think they'll
They're
be
not.
interested in this?
Yeah, they might. They're those kinds of aggressive companies. They're not like, your Nestle's and Unilevers and Diageo's, and they're not in that league. They're much, much smaller than that. Yeah. I know they exist.
Okay. Mm. Okay. We see. I mean, it's for the government to sort it out. And but Nigeria is not South Africa, where that 51% is like you have to put it on the stone. My understanding is IBM Nigeria could actually be controlled by the IBM USA up to 100%, or Google Nigeria is controlled by Google USA 100%. So I'm not aware of that 51%. I'm just hearing it from you, John, if that is the case. But I know in South Africa it's not possible because you have to have a local shareholding structure, either a company or a citizen of South Africa, for you to actually get over through the law. And just recently, the government of Kenya, to make it possible for local participation of technology companies in Kenya, before you can incorporate, even if you are Google, you must have the local version of Google to have at least either 25 or 35% of Kenyans or Kenyan companies holding that. So, but in Nigeria, I don't know about it because I just think that Microsoft Nigeria is owned 100% by Microsoft from Redmond, USA.
No, it can't be. It's not allowed. They have
So who is a lawyer here? Do we have a lawyer
they
here?
have to register. I'm sure if you get somebody that is professional in this area, they will tell you that.
Yeah. So who can help us here? Don't we have professionals in that space of corporate affairs? Yeah. Raise your hand,
what John
please.
is saying is correct.
Ah, wow.
Yes. If not, you'll not be allowed to do business at all. CAC won't let you fly.
So are you telling me that Microsoft Nigeria, 51% of it is owned by Nigerians?
You need to have directors who have shares up to 51% on the board.
No.
I think that's what Don meant by saying that they are studio owners. They are not real owners.
Yes.
So I'm hearing that word the first time.
Well, that's what it is. So you wouldn't be able to do business here.
Interesting. I mean, you learn every day. You call them studio owners, so they are just shining cars. They can't drive.
You don't even have to worry about Microsoft. The ones that you have to worry about, all these small manufacturing companies that are up the Abeokuta Expressway by like around kilometer number.
Yeah, I know. We know.
Those are the ones.
Yeah. Okay, so Wilson, you're in Kenya. Can you share what they are doing there? That I think it's 35% or 25% local ownership of companies. I think in Kenya there. That's a new regulation or a new bill in the parliament in Kenya. They are trying to put across. Can you speak on that?
Okay, I can speak for Kenya. They usually encourage locals.
Yeah, if you can go closer to your microphone. I think it's a little bit not very clear. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm saying that it is a requirement at the time of registration for foreign companies to bring in locals. But it's not always an immediate requirement. Sometimes they give like specify that within a duration of maybe 2-3 years down the line, you should be able to offload part of your shareholding to the locals. So that as a way of encouraging locals to participate in these businesses. So that is for Kenya. That's how it goes. And they also, in addition to that, the government also gives more of like incentives to encourage locals to start companies. Let me give a typical example. If a Kenyan company that is 50 plus 1% owned by Kenyans, when it comes to some of these statutory licensing requirements for like payments, instead of paying one off or prepaying for their licenses, they are given that leeway to maybe spread their license fee for a duration, maybe for like 10 years, as a way of encouraging locals to invest locally.
I see. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, Aris, are you there? So you could
Yeah.
continue. Any
Yes, I am.
question for Mr. Segla? And yeah, I'm really surprised with this 51% and really. Yeah, because that seems strange, really. Mm.
I think it's the same thing in Ghana. You must have
Oh,
local content before you can enroll in Ghana.
wow.
Because if somebody gives you 10% of a big company, let's say Google, even as a studio holder, and you are there representing it on paper, why you are not benefiting from it, what is that to that person's life? I mean, so I just think that there should be trial lawyers in some African countries that can actually go for all these things. I mean, there's a huge, massive opportunity for somebody to make a career as a trial lawyer, where at the end of the year, you look at the dividend paid to the person's bank account and the dividend shareholding structure the person is holding in the Corporate Affairs Commission where the company registered. If there is any discrepancy, he's holding 20%, but he's getting dividend of 1%. Hey, you know, somebody has broken the law because it's manipulation of markets. Or don't you think so?
Yes. Yes.
It's manipulation of markets. Yeah. And we are hearing here also the same thing in Tanzania. So that means the laws have actually taken care of most of the things that every one of us is complaining. It's just that the implementation process is not very, very good. So there are loopholes everywhere. Okay, so go ahead. I think you still have some slide you want to run across just to continue.
Well, apart from the payroll support, you have the artisan, which is the daily people, and that's stream 1, stream 2, and stream 3. And the stream 1 should have commenced, which has to do with Lagos, Kaduna, Kano, Ogun, Borno, Bauchi, Anambra, and the likes with Delta states. And the application for stream 2 will commence from 19th, and it will just go in phases like that. I think what is important is that the government is really trying to reactivate the economy, and a lot of money will be pumped out. So whatever we are doing or we are going to do, we should not be looking at the present economic situation, because as these monies go out, a lot of activities will start. So whatever we have in our pipeline, we should also be looking at pushing them out, so that as people's buying power increases, our businesses will definitely also get up, because all this money will go to these people and they will spend it, and it will oil the economy. So frequently asked question is that it has already started. The page is active. There's no limit to the number of is there a limit to the number of employees that can be enrolled for the scheme? And yes, a minimum of 3 employees and a maximum of 10. Is the SME Survivor Fund payroll support loan or a grant? The MSME Survivor Fund payroll support is a grant and not a loan. So federal government is not expecting beneficiaries of the fund to pay back. And when the registration ends, the registration has been split for easy administration. Nevertheless, all sector registrations would continue until the 15th of October 2020. And here I have a WhatsApp, a Twitter response to somebody who asked them, and they said the scheme is a conditional grant to support vulnerable micro and small enterprises in meeting their payroll obligations and safeguard jobs in the MSMEs from the shock of the COVID-19 pandemic. So a lot of people are going to be getting free money if they meet all the requirements. But don't forget the requirements. Actually,
I think Musa has a question. Segla, Musa has a question. You can also pick it up while he's while you're speaking.
Okay, the chat.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Segla.
Good evening.
Yeah, going through this framework, mention is not made of the informal sector. So I don't know, because the pandemic affected everybody, even the informal sector the more. So how does the government intend to extend this palliative to the informal sector?
Please, let's just help me with simple English. What do you mean by the informal sector?
Okay, for example, the woman that is selling pepper by the roadside, who probably does not have.
Those are the self-employed. Those are the self-employed.
Yes.
Which is what I just finished talking about. This one. This includes even up to Uber drivers. Those are the informal sector.
Yes,
okay?
Uber
So,
driver, you have data to capture Uber drivers, but there are 1 million and more businesses in Nigeria that you don't have data about.
Now let me go through this so that everybody will understand. Okay, now the informal sector, which includes the plumbers and all that, are divided into 2. You have those who have association. Okay, they have a system. I know that happens very well, and Lagos State has a database because I've worked with a project with Lagos State, Microsoft, Flutterwave on a project like that before. So Lagos State have database of many plumbers and the artisans and all that. But there's also people who are not member of those associations. Okay, so those who are members of the association will apply to their association, and those who do not have association from every state. Okay, according to stream 1, stream 2. Are you seeing my screen? Stream 1, stream 2, stream 3. They can now go for data capture. Okay, they will be captured, and then they will now be able to have access to those funds. So to apply for the artisan scheme, applicants will have to apply through an association. Although we understand that not all artisans belong to an association, a small percentage will be given to those without association. Okay, they must have BVN and a bank account number. An association must be registered with CAC. So government has looked at it that they know that some do not belong and some belong to an association which is recognized. So throughout the entire 36 states and Federal Capital Territory, data capture will be carried out for them, and then they will be able to apply for it. Okay. And if you look at the bottom, it says artisans do not require CAC to apply.
Well, the way it is in Nigeria, sometimes when you are in the cities, you think that what's happening there is what's happening everywhere. But if you go to the villages, how many people have BVN?
Yeah, I think I may come in there really. I mean, this is not really a question that we can answer here. I agree with you 100%, Musa, because we know that Nigeria has a population of 200 million people, and we estimate about 120 or thereabouts should be the adult population. And the total number of taxpayers in Nigeria is around 23 million people. And the total number of people we can think that actually earn something for a living at the end of the month in terms of getting income is about 30 million people. Now, BVN is around 40 million people. So there is this kind of 40 million people, 120 million people. We are having a delta of 80 million people that may not have this BVN. And you are still trying to reach them. But you understand that this is not necessarily government's fault, because BVN is free. If somebody says he does not want to get a BVN because he doesn't want to get a BVN, I'm not going to push it to the government. It's just the same thing. People don't want to register the birth of their child because they don't want to register the birth of their child. Just the same reason why people don't get NIMSI. I mean, I live in US. The little time I went to Nigeria, the first thing I did, I went to NIMSI. I sat down there for 45 minutes just to get the national identity card. And when I did that, people asked me, why did you do that? I just said, I want to show an example that sometimes you have to make sacrifices to make your government to work. And that was the same thing the boxing legend Joshua, who is one of the finest fighters in the world, he lived in United Kingdom. He came to Nigeria, he went to NIMSI to capture the NIMSI ID. I promise you there is nothing that Joshua needs the NIMSI ID for. But ask him privately, will tell you, I just want to show an example. You have to inconvenience yourself sometimes in order to make your government to work, in order to make your country to work. And that was it. I inconvenienced myself for 45 minutes. I got the NIMSI number. I've never used it for anything. So if people don't have BVN, I don't think the government has to accommodate them. If they want to get a BVN, they go to the bank, or they will go to the microfinance, or go wherever they have to go and get a BVN. And because that's what it takes, and it's free, and you have a right to get it. That's the way I would look at it. And the government should not make an exception so that we don't have briefcase businessmen all over the country getting this money in multiple sources. Yeah, is Musa still there? I hope.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Musa.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, we also have Cosmos.
Okay.
Cosmos there. Just go.
Yeah, good evening, Prof. Good evening, Mr. Segla. Thank you for your presentation. I want to ask the envelope for application talk about minimum of 3 staffs and maximum of 10, if I understand you correctly. Then,
Yes.
Then is there a turnover cap as well? Is there a turnover they are looking at, maybe minimum turnover or maximum turnover? Is there any financial envelope that they want to attend to? Maybe if you have turnover of over so thing, you can't apply of, or lower than so you can't apply. Is there any such cap?
Well, I believe that if you look at the requirement, 12 months turnover is required. Okay, you are supposed to also file your tax returns, but that they are silent about whether that. But you know, there's a turnover that defines whether you are a micro, small, medium enterprise, or you are a large or medium corporation. So you will definitely expose those information. But if they will now use it as a requirement to select or deselect people, I'm not privy to that.
Sorry, can you clarify the turnover that differentiate whether you are micro, medium, or not, or over? Do you know?
I can't give that directly now confidently, but it's okay. Very much available. I can share that later.
Okay.
I think indirectly, I don't have that data myself here, but I know that you start paying tax if you are above 25 million naira turnover. So implication is the government doesn't care anything you do until you start hitting 25 million naira. That is according to the new tax policy that the government was pushing. They said that if you make total revenue less than 25 million in a year, you are exempted from the company tax. So I would just think that anything below that, you could be considered, you are really doing well as a company. The government doesn't want to disturb you with tax. That could be a guidance for you.
So is that supposed to mean that if your turnover is over 25 million, you may not be qualified for this? Is it?
Yeah, no.
Definitely, that means you are not small.
I don't know. Anyway,
no,
yeah,
that's what I want to clarify. It's very important to know.
Implied that you are not small.
Yeah.
Because if you look at even the salary, the payroll is 50,000, 30,000 to 50,000 per staff. Okay, so and if you have a turnover of 25 million, and you are paying your staff, I'm sure 30,000 or 50,000 may not be part of those who really matter. Maybe your security man and driver. And that's not what you want to go do all this stress for just maximum for about 10 people. Okay. You have better things to do.
So let's see if we can get more information on that. Maybe Segla and Mr. Emmanuel Echa, they have been helping us to get that data. So this slide you have, by Monday, when we'll be getting into the next class on Monday, 12 noon Lagos time, if they have that information, we will include it in the slide they will be sharing with us. So that, but if they don't, because it's not available, you just know that no one knows. And that is also something that we hope that government can provide us updated information for people to have more clarity. Yeah. So if Segla has it, he will put it in the slide. The slide will be shared in the board on Monday. So, Mr. Olaide, please go ahead. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, Olaide Olawo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. and Segla and everyone that have contributed earlier. I think I just want to comment that anybody that felt he needs to be part of this stuff should just get to the bank and do his BVN, even those in the informal sector. So, and it's any bank will be willing to do BVN and open account without deposit for them, so that we can actually move on. Then the point is, for somebody has as regard, are they going to ask for the salary cap? Nobody is interested in the salary cap as at now. The only thing can be guaranteed that henceforth, if you've not been remitting your tax, you may be in the hand of, you will not be escaping tax remittance henceforth once you come on board on this program, because government agency can now have your data and contract you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. So, Segla, and Emmanuel, you also here, if you can also help. Is government trying to share information with the tax agency as people are applying for this? Because if they do that,
well, I believe that
may actually be violation. Go ahead.
Government is, we remember, hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Segla.
I think government, if you look at the activities of this administration, they be very serious about capturing more tax payers. And even if you look at it, I think it was Prof who shared the information on LinkedIn, where Lagos Internal Revenue was also congratulating Lekon and asking him that to pay tax next year. So government definitely is looking at capturing. So if they will use the cookies to get you to document yourself, definitely when it is time for you to pay tax, they know where to find you.
Yes. Segla, can I put in a contribution?
Yes, please.
Okay. Prof, in the morning session, you remember when someone asked if this wasn't just an extension of trader money? I told the participant then that for trader money, the government wasn't able to capture the data of people who came on board, who got money, even if it was 5,000 or 10,000. But it's very different with this approach. The government needs this information. They need to be able to look at the the zones that were covered, the people who got the grants, the support. They have to be able to look deep into the data insight and say, okay, from this geopolitical zone, what is their response? Do they have micro enterprises that people are turning out to engage more with the public? Do they have records that they can work with? Do you have what is the population of women who are into businesses, who have their CAC registration done even without the government doing that? And if the government can give 100,000, 250,000 people registration for their businesses, the government is also going to engage them to have their tax identification number, engage them further to have BVN for those accounts, push them much more further to get them to have their business, to have their corporate accounts. So with that, government is going to be able to know, have more better data to work with, and moving forward from that, use it for anything else.
Okay, yes. And there is a link from Bookie. I just checked through that link and I summarize, I think, a key part of that on, that's the breakdown of the revenue cutoff. But the site did not, is too wordy there. So
you see my screen?
I
have it on my screen now.
Okay, no, the one I'm talking about, there's a link shared by one of our colleagues here, Bookie. She said a website.
Okay,
she's
the
talking about the. Okay, annual turnover for the last, we're seeing it, but we can't see any amount there. Do you have any specific amount on your screen?
Yes, total asset is on total assets, on total annual turnover and loan amount by Bank of Industry to classify micro, small, and medium. Number of employees is less than or equals to 10 for micro. Total asset is equals to or less than 5 million. Annual turnover for micro is equals to or less than 20 million. And loan amount is equals to or less than 10 million. You are micro. If you are small, greater than 11 employees, but not more than 50. Total asset is not more than 100 million.
Okay, so let's include this in the slide. Let's include it in the slide. It's like your Zoom link has frozen. I can't see it here. It's not reflecting on mine, but I think it happens sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't see. You can't see your screen.
Yeah. I think it happens with Zoom. It's frozen. We can't see.
Mr.
So
Segla, we can add it to your slide, so it becomes a full document that can be shared.
It's not on the slide. That's why it's not showing. I think that's okay. Means you cannot see anything other than my slide.
Okay, so just do it and share that with admin, or just share that with me so that we can put it on Monday. Then we have a question from Patrick. Just hold on. We have a question on Health Plus, because we have people from Kenya and other here. Let's not just think that it's just only Nigeria, but we apologize that we have to have a dedicated one to discuss this survivor fund. I believe vividly that if you qualify, apply, because people apply and people do get this thing. So it should be something good that we actually use it, because we've already produced most of these documents. If you did our first 1, 2, 3rd week of our assignments, that's actually a small business plan. Then if you did a lab 1, that's a concept note, that is actually a business plan. So applying for these grants will not be very difficult if you have done those things. So somebody asked a question on Health Plus. There was an article I put in the last about 1 hour ago. It's actually a reason I shared a public notice from the company. And when I read that public notice, what was happening is that the founder of Health Plus, which is a company, a pharmacy retail chain in Nigeria, owned by a very prominent businesswoman, but she needed capital, so she went to a private equity firm that invested, promised to invest some money. So what happened there, the key thing there was the private equity firm invested money, or was to promise to invest money. At the end of the day, is the majority shareholder of the company. So the note I made there was, let me read that line for you, because it's also part of what we're trying to inform and co-educate ourselves here because it's really, so at the time of the equity investment in 2018, Mrs. Bukky George transferred 95% ownership of Health Plus to a new entity called Health Plus Africa Holdings Limited, incorporated in Mauritius, while retaining 5% shares in her own name. So she retained 5% and then transfers 95% to this new company. The Health Plus Africa Holding Limited is owned by Mrs. Bukky George, 46.2%, and ED Holdings, the 53.8%. ED Holdings is this private equity fund. So in essence, Mrs. Bukky George owns directly and indirectly 48.9%. So what I was saying in that post was, you own a company A, somebody comes to invest money in company A, and the person convinces you to go and start another company B, then you keep 5% owning A, then you go to that B and now you own a certain percentage. So at the end of the day, when you do the mathematics, Mrs. Bukky, she's technically now a minority shareholder in her company. So why will you have to go and own your own company indirectly? At the end of the day, when the mathematics has worked out, she becomes a minority shareholder. So what I was saying there is that if this company pays up what they're supposed to pay, they're actually the majority shareholder of the company. And if they are the majority shareholder of the company, everything they have been asking for, depending if the share ownership translates to voting rights, because you could still own the share of 90% of a company and the voting rights, you don't have up to 10% of it. We know that from Mark Zuckerberg in Facebook. He owns about 27% of Facebook, but he controls 60% of the voting rights. In other words, anything that happens in Facebook, Mark is actually the guy that will decide because he controls 60% of the voting right, and his family and friends control 10%. So directly or indirectly, he controls 70% of the voting rights of Facebook, even though he doesn't own up to 30% of the shares of Facebook. So this is very key. If we see that the total capacity of the number of percentages in the share translates to the voting rights, it means that this private equity firm is actually the major shareholder of this company, and they have the voting rights. But like I said, we don't know. We don't know until we know if there is any other different structure for the voting rights. So the person that asked that question, I don't know if that's very clear to you. I was just trying to point it out there. Of course, we don't know everything there, but from the public notice that the company put across, they actually basically confirm what most people have been rumoring, that the private equity firm is the major shareholder of this company. And if the major shareholder of this company, assuming it's also the voting right share majority decider, they can actually do most things they want to do in that company without us feeling that we are Nigerians or we Africans, that foreigners are coming to take our company, but we sign what we sign. And if we sign what we sign, there are consequences for that, because that's mathematics 101. So Iheanacho, I don't know if you if that answers your question, and so we can go to Patrick.
I also wanted to mention that we have two subject matter experts that's in the law space coming on Monday.
Okay. He says fine. Okay. Go ahead, Alvinze. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, I was saying that we do have two subject matter experts coming on Monday, holding a session that area.
Oh, okay. Yes. So on Monday there will be more information on that.
Yeah. So we could take question from Patrick. Yeah, Mr. Patrick, please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Prof. As usual, you are opening up minds and making Nigerians to actually sit up. This company, this pharmaceutical company that run into this unnecessary ajibaj, is a function of our system that is running away from de-risking and encouraging Nigerian businesses to take optimal control of their business, create capacity, build inherent internal systems that is going to help Nigerians to see that actually what is in UK can be domiciled here in Nigeria. And I think that this calls for us to have a sober reflection. As of 2008, which is 12 years from today, I was in South Africa with Nigerian Export Promotion Council. They took 10 miners from Nigeria to South Africa. I took sample from the site where I was working. And a South African company, boldface, told me that they have processing capacity. Can I allow them to be taking raw material to South Africa in perpetuity? It was an agreement, perpetuity. And I said, excuse me, I'm actually from Nigeria, and I know that the inherent value in any resource company is in manufacturing, value addition, and value creation. If I'm going to sign off in perpetuity, that word scared me because it means that until Jesus comes, you will continue to move it to South Africa for processing. I refuse to sign.
Have you been to church for a long time, Patrick? Even though your name is Patrick, just joking.
Like they said, oh, there's a signature bonus, $5 million. I said, excuse me, sorry, I need $5 million, but not on this level. Because what we are actually producing can produce battery, can produce so many other raw material. What is wrong with us in Nigeria? I don't understand. I don't really understand. But what the point I want to raise this evening is just a simple admonishment to Nigerians to really calm down. Read the small print. If you need to wait, wait. That money that you're looking for, just wait. But then I want to really caution our banking sector. Why are they doing? Banks has capacity to go and borrow the money.
Patrick, we'll give you an opportunity to write an article on this. But I can tell you clearly that this is not really a bank problem per se. Is this agreement, I can tell you from what this private equity firm wrote last week, the company now wants to change it. It's possible that people didn't really pay attention what they were signing, especially when the mathematics became very difficult. You give out your company, you now own your company directly. At the end of the day, when you do the mathematics, you are now a minority holder. No one must have thought about it. So it's not necessarily bank, but of course, we don't have any influence. And we also have to be very respectful that these are people that have built great companies. So we can't claim here that we know it all. But I'm using these for us to have a conversation like a classroom so that we can become more sensitive and also pay attention, do the necessary due diligence. Talk to people that understand these things before you begin to give out these equities and just because you want to receive money, which at the end of the day, you may come to regret about it. So, yeah. So Patrick.
Yeah, Prof.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to calibrate a little bit just on that point that it's better we stay focused that and then there are very great Nigerian lawyers, there are very great Nigerian bankers, so that a system like this broke down is not an indictment on all.
No, what I'm trying to get at, because some of us has actually gone extra mile. I went to United Kingdom Export Finance. They approved $10 million and they needed corporate guarantee. I went to Nezim Bank to get the export guarantee. Nezim Bank was like, yeah, we don't have account, we don't have this. Excuse me, what I'm saying to them, finally, they were able to go on their own skin. And United Kingdom Export Finance gave the same Nezim Bank credit line of £2 billion to intervene in solid mineral sector. Now, with all due respect, I was thinking that they could have gone on their own strength, network the miners, network every other businesses that needed these funds, put them together because they have more better capacity than individual company. Why are we allowing private equity company to come in and take a pound of flesh they don't deserve to have? But
okay, I think we made a point, Patrick. Like I said, I've said this many times that we cannot serve the work of the government, and then so this is not what any one of us here can actually have any impact on. So let's stay focused on things that we can control. Like somebody asks, why do we even need to have private equity firms when companies can IPO, let's say Nigeria Stock Exchange in the Kenyan Stock Exchange? But if you look at it, if you're not a bank or a telecom or a consumer, fast-moving consumer goods in Nigeria Stock Exchange, do you even have a chance? You know, so it becomes a real issue. Why do you have to take all the effort, make all the whole efforts? At the end of the day, investors do not give you what you're expecting, that you can generate a lot of value. So these are fundamental things that we can actually change. And when we begin to show that people listing on Nigeria Stock Exchange can generate very good returns over time, maybe other people can follow. But as it stands today, it's what it takes.
You know, finally, Prof, I actually arrived at Abuja today with my core log because I've started doing core drilling. Because when you talk of solid mineral, when you have not bring out the core, no, everybody will be speculating, telling you you're a joker. But when you bring out the core, this is the core, analyze it. Tell me the percentage of the core of the material that is in it. By next week, I will not be able to speak authoritatively that this is what I brought, this is what the sample has given, this is where it has been analyzed, this is this is that. This is how we're going to take back our country, because this country is blessed.
Okay.
We will not allow, oh my God, we will not allow what is happening to this country to continue. There are a lot of us.
It's okay, Patrick. So let's go to Nathaniel. Nathaniel, unmute yourself. I would also like to get your perspective on this because of what you are writing on here on chats. Is this something you can unmute yourself and speak? Because that's a message that every one of us must get. Private equity firms, venture capital firms, they are very good companies. They are good. They are not evil. So let's not try to create an impression that somebody who is risking millions of dollars in a Nigerian company is suddenly an evil company. I just want us to understand that if we are, all of us agree that we are adults, that you sign a document, you don't understand the meaning, it's not that the other guy is bad. So Nathaniel, if it's something that you can like to speak, I would like to hear a perspective on that. Thanks. Oh, how do you unmute him? Okay.
Nathaniel?
Yeah, I think he's having some microphone issues, so he cannot speak. There's no microphone even on his so that's okay. So we just have about 7 more minutes. Anyone, any question, general question, as well as the question on the presentation from Mr. Segla and Echa. So if you have any question on that, let's hear you as we're rounding up with the next 7 minutes. Then Buki has provided.
Yeah, Prof. Hello. I want to really. Hello. Can I say something, please? I want to really say something on what you posted out yesterday, which is, if you have $10 million to give to 100 people, but the 100 people cannot create capacity that can be meaningful to the development of the economy. But if you give the same money to 5 persons, the 5 persons will create the volume of activities that is going to give a lot of money back to the state. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. The game is not a game of 100%. It's not a game of 80%. It's a game of 20%. 20% solve the problem that 80% creates. Let me rest my point there. Maybe someone else.
Yeah, I think, of course, I'm hoping that one day we can see it from that angle. Personally, if I run the numbers, if you say you want to empower 14 million farmers as we do in this country, Nigeria, where we give out maybe $100 equivalent to 40 million farmers. At the end of the day, you've been doing that for more than 30 years. Nothing has changed because $100 will not change the farmer. But if you say in each geopolitical zone, there are 6 in Nigeria, for example, then you said, okay, I'm going to pick 1,000 top farmers in each geopolitical zone. So you are now working 6,000 farmers in the country. So instead of giving them $100, there's a possibility that you can give them, let's say, $1 million or $5 million. If you give them $5 million, they will now need tractors. They will now need higher scale production. They will also have the capacity to go into processing. Then you may be surprised that within 5-6 years, those anchor 6,000 farmers can employ the legions of other farmers, and they will bring efficiency in the utilization of factors of production because they now have capacity to do that. But there is one problem. 6,000 voters instead of 14 million, there is no way you can do that because the 14 million farmers will give you 14 million votes. Why the 6,000 farmers are just 6,000 farmers. So that's why no politician wants to do that because it doesn't generate a lot of votes. If you look carefully, when they give this money, it's always before the election. So you have 14 million people to vote for you. Why do you have to? It's not a political party thing. It has been happening since the time of Nnamdi Azikiwe, Awolowo, and Ahmadu Bello. That's how the Nigeria has been doing it. So, but if somebody comes in and says, I want to fix agriculture, go away with this issue of empowering every person, take the people that are already strong, make them stronger, and then hopefully that you can actually build a stronger agricultural system. We can now move from having 65% of our working population employed in agriculture. And then we are producing massive poverty and hunger across Nigeria. In America, less than 3% of their population actually feed, 3% of their working population feed America, and they can even feed the world. So it's not a game of having 65% of people working in agriculture, and we cannot feed ourselves when other countries can use less than 5%, and they can also feed themselves. So it has to have leadership without thinking of the political consequences to do that. But it's a very difficult thing for somebody who wants his party to retain power to say, I am going to annoy 14 million people just by choosing only 6,000 people. That's why it's not popular. So, Okechukwu, go ahead. That could be the last question. Then we'll round up. Thank you. Unmute yourself and speak, Okechukwu.
All right, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I was listening to the news recently. Of course, we all know what's happening globally concerning the president of US testing positive to coronavirus, and I realized that the capital market reacted to that news. So I've been trying to relate how the president testing positive to corona could affect markets. So I don't know if you can provide any explanation to that.
Yeah, of course, I'm not a market player. I'm just a village guy here. So, but I know there are market players here. So I will just comment, and then also they can raise their hands. The fact is this: investors invest based on policies. In efficient market systems like US, where people don't do a lot of guesswork. In Nigeria, even if GT Bank profit goes up, the next day the stock opens down because people don't even care whether it's making money or not. It's all about tom-bom, as they say in the southeastern part. They're just doing guesswork. But in US, information moves markets. And when you are talking of information, you're talking about policy. There are people that have done some mathematical modeling that if President Trump wins this election, that so thing will happen. In short, there is a private equity firm they shared with me last week where they have decided the stock, if there are no opportunities, they want to move into buying stock. They said that these are the 30 stocks they will invest if Trump wins re-election. These are the 30 stocks they will invest if Joe Biden wins. Now, if, for instance, President Trump is sick because of virus, and somebody now sees that if he cannot campaign less in the next 2 weeks, when the election is roughly about 30 days from today, the propensity of a natural advantage going to Biden goes high. So if that is the case, you don't even need to wait until after the election to make that move. So because you know that he's most likely going to see an disadvantage if every time they show him he's in a hospital. So you begin to now move away from stocks like ExxonMobil, Chevron, and typical fossil fuel or coal mines. You know he has supported in a way through his policies. So those stocks will not be affected because the information that a man who is making the policy that will drive so many things, there is a tendency that if he's sick, that he may not win the election. So that's why you are seeing what is happening in markets. And there are also things that people are expecting him to do, or we're expecting him to do in the next 1 month, signing executive orders. If he's sick, those things may be suspended. So that's why you see the market responding. But if you check very well, it is not a flat thing. Some people will see that companies that are going to renewable may actually see that if Mr. Trump loses election, Joe Biden will just come there, give massive renewable credit that if you can use solar in your house, you get a credit, tax credit. If you are driving Tesla, you get a tax credit. So that will favor companies like Tesla. So, but markets must process that information and interpret it because it's a market moving information for the most powerful man in the world politically to be put in a hospital ward to be receiving treatment. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. I think that helps anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So and also just they have canceled all his meetings for this week.
Yeah.
Both people that are coming from Japan, people that are coming from Europe and European Union and United Kingdom. And if you are an investor in London and your prime minister told you that he's sending a delegation to White House in order to close a specific deal, and if Mr. Trump is not, that means that your shift, what you have modeled that this thing could close in the next 30 days, you don't even know when it will close. So that's a market moving scenario because you don't even know whether that deal will go because you are hoping that it will close it before an election, before Joe Biden comes and he says, I'm not interested. And so leave what happens in Nigeria. We don't invest based on information. We have a higher level of latency. Information will still cycle in Nigeria, but it takes roughly about 4 days before markets start processing it. Because the day APC announced that Dangote was one of the presidential advisors to Buhari, I was expecting that the next morning that Dangote's group companies will suffer. But nothing happened to it. The APC now immediately say it was a mistake. But if you do that in US, to say here that the CEO of Microsoft is now a part of the presidential campaign team of Trump, I'm telling you, market will react very, very vigorously that something must be wrong in Microsoft for them to have, because most people can just dump Microsoft because they are not in political affiliation with Trump and vice versa. So information can move markets.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Oh, Tumbon, somebody just corrected me the way I said it. I know Tumbon. It's like a guesswork. Which one is it? Oh, Lord.
I'm not sure the person is a Nigerian.
Yeah, Ligago. I think I don't know whether he's calling from Uganda or Nigeria, but you never know. All African names are the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've gotten to the close. So let me just allow Segla to, if he has a point, I'll do the normal thing so that we round up. It's already past the 3 minutes time.
Yes, Mr. Segla, any closing notes for us?
Okay, I just want to thank everybody. And just like many of us have already addressed, I like the passion of Mr. Patrick. I'm sure one day we'll be able to catch that passion from him. And I recognize that he's very passionate about the solid mineral industry. But my takeaway from all this, and the reason why I also went to the policy document, is a lot of money is going to be out. So whatever project we have, and we've been lagging to get them on the feet because we felt that the economy is suffering, it's the time to go and dust them because money is coming. Thank you.
one, and good night.
Morning coming.
Morning is
All right.
coming.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Segla.
Thank you so
Say
much,
morning is
Segla,
coming.
and thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you to everyone that has made our time to attend this webinar. Yeah. Thank you. And do have a great evening.
Okay, we are hopeful.